Bienvenido y hola familia. Welcome to Precisely Nowhere. Happy to be on the mic today. I'm recording this in early June and I'm excited for what's in store this summer. I intentionally planned for me to give myself breaks over the weekends. Usually I'm working on the pod Saturday and Sunday, but in June and July, I've given myself a lot of Saturdays off and some Sundays off as well. I hope that when I'm not working on the pod, I'm doing other things that fill my cup up and letting myself rest. I don't know if you can relate, but as a first gen Latina, I find myself always doing something, and that is something that I'm unlearning. I'm learning that rest is normal and does not always have to be earned. And stoked for what is in store for y'all starting July and the rest of the year. There are a lot of great chats, interviews that I am doing with creators, entrepreneurs, friends, family, and that content will be on the pod. As we round out June, I wanted to share some highlights from a wellness event that I went to the end of May and talk about how I've been taking care of my brain and body lately, hoping it inspires you to do the same all year long, not just in the summertime, and bringing you some fun TV shows to add to your watch list. Grab your cafecito, your emotional support water bottle, your matcha, whatever you're sipping today, and let's chill. We're going to jump into some life updates. So, this past weekend, when I'm recording this episode, my boyfriend and I went to the very first Afterglow Social Wellness Club event in Riverside, and it was such a vibe. One of my boyfriend's friends was helping put it together and invited us. And I'm so glad we said yes because lately I've been trying to say yes to experiences that get me out of the house and around people. I work from home, so I spend a lot of time in my own space and I love my own space, but it is nice to get out and interact with humans. And I think that's healthy and normal to do. And let me tell you, the event started with Pilates. And when I say Pilates humbled me, I mean, it absolutely kicked my ass. My legs were shaking as I was trying to do some of the workouts. And I realized your girl needs to keep it up. I've been trying to get back into Pilates, and this was the perfect way for me to do that. After class, we walked outside and there were vendors everywhere, cafecito, matcha, plant-based energy drinks, massages, sauna sessions, cold plunges, a live DJ, and little lounge areas where people were hanging out and chatting. The vibes were immaculate. La energía was chef's kiss. And what surprised me most was how quickly the time flew by. The event was from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., but somehow it felt like we were there for only an hour. And I think that is the best when events like that fly by and you are just enjoying yourself. I spent the rest of the day working on the pod. My boyfriend studied, and I couldn't stop thinking about how much fun I had. And honestamente, I think it's because I got to meet people and I got to make some friends. Adult friendships is something that came up multiple times throughout the event. And I realized I haven't talked about it on the pod in a while. If you've been around since my New York to California era, then making friends was very much on my mind after I moved. And while I've made some amazing friends since then, this weekend reminded me that making friends as an adult never really stops. We're growing and evolving, we're becoming new versions of ourselves. Y a veces that means finding new people who align with where we're at. One of my favorite moments happened in the bathroom line because where else do female friendships begin? If you know, you know. I started chatting with two girls while we were waiting to change for the sauna and cold plunge. And somehow we went from talking about the cold plunge to doing the cold plunge together, as one does. Then we ended up hanging out in the sauna and we talked about life, talked about friendship, and how weird it is trying to make friends as an adult. And one thing I think a lot of us can agree on is that sometimes it's not that you don't have friends. Sometimes you've changed. Maybe you've suddenly become a hiking girly. Maybe you're into wellness events. Maybe you're trying to spend more time outdoors. Maybe you're prioritizing your health. And the people in your life aren't necessarily interested in those things. That doesn't mean anyone is wrong or that you've grown apart. It just means there might be room for new friendships too. That's my hot take. I think sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to find our next best friend that we forget friendship starts with one conversation, one shared experience, one compliment, one random chat in a bathroom line, one sauna session, one, hey, do you want to do the cold plunge together because I'm low key scared? And honestly, I think it's beautiful thinking about how we don't need to put so much emphasis or effort to start that friendship. And a small but mighty tip from your amiga: exchange numbers, get the Instagram handle, get something. Because there was another girl I had such a lovely chat with, and afterward, I realized we never exchanged information. And now I'm over here like, she's supposed to be my hiking buddy. Okay, universe, if she's supposed to be in my life, you're going to have to do your thing because I dropped the ball. Those are my thoughts on adult friendships. I'll link to the episode that I released shortly after moving to California, but wanted to chat about it here because it's been a minute since we've talked about it on the pod. And it is something that I think we all face at all ages of our life. I know I have family members that are going through new life milestones, and they are also in a space where they can be making new friends, and it can be daunting. So I think the more we just approach it from a more relaxed state of mind and don't put too much pressure on ourselves, the easier it's going to be to form those natural connections. And just remember with anything, baby steps is progress. You don't need to become best friends overnight or at all. You can just have that friend that you go to wellness events with or you go hiking with. Let it be simple. Okay, switching gears. Let's talk about taking care of our brains and our bodies because your girl is trying very hard not to end up in a Wally situation. If you know, you know. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about longevity, not in a scary way, more in a I would like my knees, brain, and back to still work in 40 years kind of way. Loki, it is one of the things that I am fearful about. Like, I just want my brain to be functioning at a high level when I'm older. And so I am intentionally trying to do things now that are helping my brain continue to grow because I know that there are things like aimlessly watching TV that doesn't necessarily always help my brain grow. And something that really stuck with me from couples therapy recently was learning how resistant our brains can be to change, even positive change. Like our brains will literally look at something that's good for us and be like, no, gracias. I'd actually prefer the familiar thing, the thing that feels safe, which explains why I can scroll social media for 20 minutes with no problem, but somehow my brain acts like stretching for 5 minutes is an impossible task. I've been trying to remind myself that every time we learn something new, practice a language, start a healthy habit, meet new people, try an activity, we're creating new pathways in our brain. And that's a beautiful thing. It's uncomfortable sometimes and it's challenging, but it's good for us. So lately, I've been focusing on a few basics: walking, stretching, posture. As I say this, not practicing good posture, speaking more Spanish, brain games. I will link to some of the apps that I use to help my brain grow in the episode, and also going to list them out now: Duolingo, Imprint, Elevate, Lumosity, New York Times, LinkedIn, those games on LinkedIn, listening to music, and also reading books. The simple stuff that's not sexy, the stuff that doesn't go viral on TikTok, but the stuff that genuinely makes me feel better. Walking continues to be one of the most underrated forms of self care, in my opinion. And it's so easy to do. Like, a lot of us are grateful to have the ability to walk, but don't want to do it. It can be a low effort way to take care of yourself. And there's so many benefits to walking. I know I've talked about it in the past on the pod. I will share an IG page, This Morning Walk, and I love it. People will share pictures of their walks. They also post facts about the benefits of walking. Don't sleep on it. Stretching is my current. I know I should be doing this, but my brain keeps negotiating with me activity. Like, maybe I'll do it later, but I'm trying to stay disciplined with it because I'm in my 30s now and I also have tendonitis in one of my arms. So it's a bitch when I spend a lot of hours at my computer for my 9 to 5 job. And I don't want to have health issues. So that means I need to do what I can, take control of myself, and do my stretches. That is me trying to hold myself accountable. And I'm sure we could all use the reminder sometimes because it can be so hard to hold ourselves accountable. Am I right? And speaking more Spanish with my boyfriend has been one of my favorite forms of brain exercise. Sometimes I'll forget a word. Sometimes I'll accidentally create a Spanglish sentence that shouldn't exist. Pero aquí estamos. Estamos aprendiendo, growing, doing our best. And that's all we can do is try our best. And not just try, but actually do our best. Before we wrap up, we are going to discuss two very important things: music and TV. By the time you're hearing this, I will have listened to Olivia Rodrigo's latest album, You Seem Pretty Sad for a Girl So in Love. I've listened to the early releases and I'm excited to dive into the full album. There's like some angsty vibes, but I'm kind of here for this like sad girl-ish music. And if you're also someone who processes life through playlists and dramatic staring out of the window moments, bienvenida. You're amongst friends. First up for today is Euphoria. You can watch this on HBO Max. To ground us, season 1 premiered June 2019. Special episodes were released December 2020 and January 2021. Those bridged the gaps between season 1 and 2. And season 2 premiered January 2022. We're currently watching season 3 that premiered April 2026. It's been a minute since we last spent time with these characters. It takes place about 5 years after season 2. They've all graduated from high school and some have graduated from college. They're in their early 20s and figuring out their lives. Watching them navigate their early 20s has brought back so many memories. Not because my life looked exactly like theirs, but because your 20s can be messy. People are still figuring things out, making mistakes, healing, learning. And while some storylines are dark, I think the one thing the show does really well is remind us that not everyone starts life from the same place. Not everyone gets the same opportunities. And life is rarely as simple as we'd like it to be. There is an amazing cast. Zendaya, who I love, fellow Virgo queen, plays Rue. Jacob Elordi plays Nate Jacobs. Sydney Sweeney plays Cassie. Alexa Demi plays Maddie. Hunter Schafer plays Jules. Eric Dane plays Cal Jacobs, RIP. He is Nate's dad. And Maud Apatow plays Lexi Howard. Last but not least, Rosalia plays Magic. This is her acting debut, and I'm obsessed. I didn't recognize her at first, and then I was watching the after episode interviews and saw her in one, and I was like, okay, queen, look at you. She plays badass. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but I am so proud as a Latina too. I'm like, you can sing, you can act, do it all. Not surprised. Highly recommend Euphoria. It is racy and not something to watch with children, but it is one of my faves. The second rec is Love on the Spectrum. You can watch this on Netflix. There are 4 seasons. I feel like I've become more socially aware through this show, and there are moments that I can relate to because, okay, I got this. If you're a fan of documentary style TV shows and reality TV, highly recommend this. This show completely stole my heart. My boyfriend and I binged it. It's wholesome, it's humbling, it's eye opening, and it's one of those shows that quietly helps you become a more empathetic person. Watching people put themselves out there, navigate relationships, and search for connection is such a beautiful reminder that at the end of the day, that's what most of us want: to be seen, to be understood, to be loved. Couldn't we all use a little more of that? And last but not least, Love Island USA season 8 premiered on June 2nd. So by the time this comes out, you'll have a handful of episodes to binge if that's your vibe. The premiere episode was spicy and sexy on another level than any of the previous seasons. I'm here for it. I'm so excited that Sierra from Summer House is going to be hosting After Sun, and I will recap this probably in the fall because your girl has been crushing it, and I have pre-recorded most of my episodes through the summer because I will be taking some time off for traveling, but the content will still keep flowing. So I got you, fam, and I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. Before I go, see, you thought I was ending, but we're not there yet. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this: say yes to the event, start the conversation, take the walk, do the stretch, learn the language, text the person, buy the ticket, trust yourself. Life gets really beautiful when we stay curious. Gracias for spending part of your day with me. I appreciate every single one of you. Cuídense mucho. Be kind to yourselves. And I'll meet you right back here in 2 weeks on Precisely Nowhere. Hasta luego, friends. P.S. There is a fun interview episode next episode. Super excited about it. And it is the perfect way for us to start mid-year. We are 6 months into the year, and I think it's a perfect time for us to check in with ourselves. And I will not give you any more spoilers. So, chat soon. Stay safe out there.
Music done by Marco. You can find him at midnight, MIDNITE_mind80 on Instagram.